Can homeschooled kids skip grades? Or can I use homeschooling to help my child skip grades in public school? These are questions that parents often ask when they have kids who are naturally gifted at academics. And they're wondering, is this something that we can do? Can we bump our kid up either in the homeschool experience, or can we use homeschooling to bump them up in public school? My name is Allison Morrow, and I'm the founder of Good Schooling. And one of the things that you need to realize when we talk about homeschooling is the fact that grade levels are actually 100% artificial. They mean nothing in the homeschool world. Now, if you live in a state that has particular regulation saying that they want kids to be on grade level, okay, then those of you in that state do have to think about grade level a little bit. But the vast majority of us do not live in states like that because grade levels don't mean anything outside of the public school experience. The whole reason public school uses grade levels is to just make it easier to shuffle kids around and figure out where to slot them, right? If you're this age, then we're going to put you right here. Doesn't matter if you're really good at history or you're really good at science until you get into high school. And then you kind of get to choose things a little differently, right? And you'll maybe get put into like an accelerated reading group or an accelerated math group, depending on what your strengths are. But here's the thing. There is no such thing as grade levels when we look at children developmentally. And when we look at education, or I should say, when we look at the information that is taught when we educate a child, none of it is specifically tied to a particular age. There is nothing about fifth grade kids, which is usually ages 10 and 11, nothing about a kid at that age that suddenly makes them more able to learn American history. And yet, across the country, most fifth graders learn American history. It has nothing to do with their age. It has nothing to do with development. It has to do with schools, or rather politicians usually, saying we want kids to learn this. When are we going to have them do it? Oh, let's have them do it in fifth grade. Okay. So when you think about grade levels in homeschooling, what you need to realize is that it is not part of what you typically need to think about. Now, those of you who are wanting to put your kids back into public school after skipping them ahead with homeschooling, here's something very important that you need to think about. When you put your children back into public school, you need to know and be very clear. Be sure that you really know exactly how the school is going to, how they are going to test or evaluate your child to decide where they're going to go. In some states, they will not put a child ahead of where they are age-wise unless they score crazy high on all sorts of tests, okay? Typically, they're just going to say, no, your child needs to go in at the level that is appropriate for their grade, and then they'll maybe put them in like an accelerated math or accelerated reading or something like that. But if you don't know for sure how they're going to test your child and determine what grade level they go into, then you definitely do not want to try skipping them ahead with homeschooling until you have figured that out, because it might not work that way. But here's something else to think about. If you have a child who is that advanced that you could even be thinking about trying to skip them ahead entire grades, then you may want to just consider homeschooling them for the long term. Because public schools cater to the middle. They do not do a great job when it comes to catering to the really smart kids or catering to the kids who really struggle. They are not built, the system is not built to diversify the way that children are taught. It is not built to tailor children's education. They've got one standard package, and that's pretty much what they give to everybody. And the kids that merit some kind of extra work, whether it be to remediate them and try to catch them up, or whether it be to help them continue to excel because they're going so quickly through things, they don't do a great job. Occasionally you'll find a really good school that has like a great gifted program or a really great special ed program, but those are rare. And that really has a lot more to do with that state and maybe even that district than it does with education, public school education as a whole. So if you have a child who is really advanced, you may want to consider bringing them home for the long term and figuring out how you can best create an educational experience that caters to their strengths and helps them to leverage the things that they're really good at to learn those other subjects where they maybe don't have as much interest or they maybe don't have as much skill. But to be able to put your children in an environment that allows them to fully become who they were meant to be, instead of keeping them in an environment that just kind of throws them scraps or, which is what quite often happens, throws them a bunch of busy work and calls that, gifted work. Half the time it's not. It's just a bunch of worksheets. Here, do this packet. Lucky you. You're smart, so we're going to give you more homework. A lot of times that's what it comes down to. That is not helping your child realize their full potential, right? If you really want to help them discover their full potential, then look for opportunities that are going to allow them to have the unique education that they are wired to have. It might take some digging on your part. That's one of the things as a homeschool coach that I can work with you on. But you can ask around too in your local homeschool groups. Hey, those of you who have really gifted kids, how are you helping them to develop those skills and those talents? Now, if you're just wanting to move your child ahead a little bit in homeschooling, you guys have been doing your homeschool thing and you're realizing, gosh, this kid is really good at math and we've already blown through the 4th grade math book, even though they're in 3rd grade. Here's the thing. You can completely throw out all those ideas in your head that you have about grade levels. When we homeschool, we don't have to worry about that. You can just say to your child or say to yourself about your child, where are you? Let's start there and we'll move at whatever pace in every subject as you want to or you can. Because even a really intelligent child isn't necessarily going to move at the same pace through every single subject, right? There's still probably going to be subjects they're not as excited about and they're not going to try as hard in as they are in the classes and the subjects that they really enjoy. But you get to just take every single one of those individually and move along at whatever pace suits them in all of them. You don't have to say, well, if you're 10, but we're going to do 7th grade work, then you have to do all of this stuff. That's not true. Throw out the concept of 7th grade. Just say, these are the skills that you're learning right now in math. Fantastic. Let's move on to this set of skills. And here's where you are in reading. Let's move on here. And here's where you are in history. What do you want to learn about in history? What do you want to learn about in science? Because you don't have to learn certain things at every single age. You can go with what your kids are interested in, which, when you have a really gifted child, is often a way better approach instead of prescribing to them, here is what you need to learn. Oftentimes, kids who are very intelligent and very academically gifted really thrive when they get to have a say in what it is that they're learning. So come alongside your child as a facilitator rather than as someone who's saying, here's the work that I want you to do. Give them an opportunity to take the reins in their own education and just help them spread their wings and learn how to do the things that it is that they want to do. So I hope that if you've been thinking about using homeschooling to skip your child ahead, or if you are homeschooling and you want to move them faster, I hope this has helped you to kind of understand that you don't really have to even worry about the whole grade level thing. You can just work with them where they are, and to realize that if your child really is gifted when it comes to academics, that the public school system may not be the best place for them. Home may be a way better option. Thank you so much for joining me. I will talk to you again soon. Take care.